Right after that student entered the restaurant, he tried to sit at the counter seats, so I urged him to use the hand sanitizer we have set up at the entrance. However, he ignored me and sat down at the counter. I asked him again to please sanitize his hands, and the student snapped back at me, saying, "Shut up. I just washed my hands." I was taken aback. The other customers looked on in surprise and the place went silent. One of them even posted on social media saying, "That Chinese restaurant really pushes the hand sanitizer, kinda annoying." In response, someone commented, "Same here. I got told off for not sanitizing." Gave the staff a dirty look after that. Then, a video was uploaded showing our counter, with a cockroach crawling on it and even being put into the ramen. The title of the video was "Delicious Cockroach Ramen." They probably took a picture inside the restaurant and edited it to create this fabricated photo. This is unforgivable. We were filled with anger and frustration, despite not having done anything to deserve such malicious treatment. I can't let this guy get away with this. He's trying to ruin this restaurant that's done so much for me. I'm gonna find out who he is and get back at him. My name is Rachel Connor, 41 years old. I live with my husband Bob, who's the same age, my mother-in-law, and our daughter who's in the 2nd grade, Catherine. I met Bob during our sophomore year of high school when we were in the same class and had seats near each other, so we chatted often. One day, while dining at a Chinese restaurant in town with my family, I saw Bob taking orders inside. That's when I found out that his family owned that very restaurant. The food was amazing, and we all had a great time, so the next day I thanked him, saying, "It was delicious." He replied, happily, "My dad's cooking is the best." I love baking and cooking, and would often cook at home with my mom, so Bob and I had a lot of conversations about food. In our senior year, we ended up in different classes and lost touch, but when I went to culinary school after graduating, Bob was there too. From there, we spent more time together and eventually started dating. After graduating from culinary school, I started working at a French restaurant while he started at a hotel restaurant. We got married, and after our daughter Catherine was born, I decided to focus on raising her. The year Catherine was about to start kindergarten, Bob's father passed away. Not wanting to close the restaurant that his father had worked so hard to establish, Bob took over. I also loved the delicious food from his father's restaurant, so we decided to run it together. One day, a young man came in for a part-time job interview. He was a second-year student from a nearby university and said he loved our restaurant's food and wanted to work here. We initially declined because we couldn't afford to hire help, but he persisted, saying he'd work even for less. He was so persistent that I thought, if he really loved the taste of our restaurant, I couldn't offer him much in terms of a part-time salary, but I decided to take him in and let him work. That was Josh. Josh grew up in a single-parent household and attended the university on a scholarship. He lived with his mother, who had difficulty walking. Every day after work, he would order a dish and take it home. When I asked why, he said his mom loved our Chinese food and would eat it every day if she could. However, because of her condition, she couldn't come to the restaurant, so he'd bring a dish home for her every day. Upon hearing that, my husband started making 2 servings of meals or sets for him from that day on. Josh said he couldn't pay, but my husband responded, "Don't be so formal about it," and provided it for free. We both wanted as many people as possible to enjoy our restaurant's dishes, so we never even considered charging him. Then one weekday during lunchtime, a blonde college student came in. Right after he entered, he tried to sit at the counter, so I reminded him to use the hand sanitizer at the entrance. However, he ignored me and just sat down. When I reminded him again, he snapped back, "Quit nagging. I just washed my hands." I was taken aback. The other customers also looked surprised and everything went quiet. I'd never been yelled at loudly by a man before, so my mind went blank, and I was so scared that my legs were shaking and I just stood there. At that moment, my husband Bob spoke to the blonde-haired college student from the kitchen. "Excuse me, sir. We require everyone to use hand sanitizer here, please." However, the blonde student glared at me, clicked his tongue, and then used the hand sanitizer at the entrance before returning to his seat at the counter. I was hesitant to take his order due to fear, but then Josh said, "I'll take his order for you." And then, the blonde student ordered ramen while playing on his smartphone. After a while, when he finished eating and was paying, he looked at us with a smug and rather creepy smile and left. "Seems like we've had fewer customers lately. Think it's because of COVID?" It's true that since COVID hit, we had fewer customers than before. However, in this area, ours was the only Chinese restaurant, and we had regulars from way back, so the number of customers hadn't dropped drastically. We had taken measures against COVID, such as sanitizing and putting up acrylic barriers on the tables. Maybe folks are just staying home more because of the virus. There's not much we can do about that, I guess. Yeah, if they're staying home, can't blame them. Maybe we should start offering delivery until this whole COVID thing settles down. The candy store next door is also struggling. Everyone's having a tough time. At that time, I thought all businesses, especially in the service industry, must be facing hard times due to the pandemic. A few weeks passed, and our customer count continued to decline, and even Bob started to get anxious. One day, Josh rushed into the restaurant looking very alarmed. "Boss, this is serious. Look at this." Bob and I looked at the video on Josh's phone. It clearly showed our restaurant's counter with a cockroach crawling, and to make matters worse, the cockroach was being put into a bowl of ramen. The title of the video was "Delicious Cockroach Ramen." Our restaurant's logo was clearly visible on the bowl. While the face of the person, presumably the owner, was blurred out, it was evident from the physique that it was Bob. Moreover, the kitchen where the cooking was taking place was unmistakably our restaurant's. The comment section was filled with harsh criticisms. "Premium broth? Yeah, right. More like a bug diner than a Chinese diner. How's the sanitation in this place? Dirty restaurant, huh?" Among the comments, some people referred to it as the Tasty Bug Chinese restaurant. "It seems like someone took photos inside, edited them, and then uploaded this fake video. Unforgivable. All we want is to serve our food to our customers. Why would someone do something so malicious? We're not letting this slide. This is absolutely unforgivable." Josh was seething with anger. The next day, even though Bob and I were still in shock, we tried our best to open the restaurant. We opened a bit before lunchtime, and usually, a few customers would come in, but today, even afternoon, not a single customer showed up. From inside the restaurant, I could see people walking on the main street. As I was gazing outside, I noticed something. Some people passing by our restaurant were peeking inside and smirking. Curious, I stepped outside to observe. There were a few groups of people gathered around our restaurant, staring at us. Some were taking photos with their phones, while others whispered among themselves. Worried that something might have come up on social media again, I went back inside and checked the popular platforms. There, I found photos of the vicinity of our restaurant and the nearest subway station, with captions like "The Bug Chinese Restaurant might be around here." Given that ours was the only Chinese restaurant near this subway station and the photos clearly showed the surroundings, anyone could tell that they were referring to our restaurant. Though I didn't want to see it, I hesitantly read the comments on the photos. "Isn't the Bug Chinese place that one near the west exit of the station? I've been there before. Can't believe they serve bugs. I had their fried rice. I'm never going there again. I used to think their food was good, but this is just disgusting. This is terrible." If such rumors spread, it's no wonder customers are staying away. After checking social media, our family became deeply disheartened, and since then, we had closed our restaurant. A few days later, when I went outside early in the morning to take out the trash, there was trash scattered in front of the restaurant's entrance. I hurriedly grabbed a broom to clean it up. As I approached the entrance, I noticed the words "Bug-infested place" spray painted in red on the entrance shutter. My strength drained, and I let the broom slip from my hand, staring blankly at the spray-painted words. After a while, I returned home, dejected, to find my husband, Bob, slouched over, deeply distressed. "What's wrong, honey?" When I asked, he told me that one of our suppliers had asked to end their business relationship with us. When I asked why, he explained that a picture of a box with the supplier's name, which was placed at the back entrance of our house, had been spread online. From there, the supplier was identified and started receiving harassment. They had frequent calls shaming them for still doing business with that bug-filled Chinese place. The supplier had a long-standing relationship with Bob's father, so Bob, not wanting to cause them further trouble, made the painful decision to stop doing business with them. "Bob, Rachel, it's okay. Thank you for keeping this restaurant going. Let's close it and find a quiet place to live somewhere else. Do we have no choice but to shut down?" I lamented. Seeing the downcast faces of my husband and mother-in-law, I felt that we were on the brink of despair. I'll start working, Bob. Please keep the restaurant going. This was the place your father worked so hard to start. Please continue it. I beg you, I said, and the three of us talked late into the night. We'll try a little longer, Bob reassured me. We found a new supplier and resumed our business. I searched for a high-paying job and ended up working as an employee in an office not too far from the restaurant. Bob came up with new menu items and services and was deeply appreciative, providing intimate service to our loyal customers. But, given the circumstances, we couldn't afford to pay our part-timer, Josh, anymore. With a heavy heart, we told him we would call him back once things were back on track. For several weeks after, my husband and mother-in-law took over the shop, and I started working outside. One day when I came home, my mother-in-law, with a serious look on her face, said, "I need to talk to you about Catherine," and summoned me to the living room. When I sat down, she began to talk. According to her, Catherine was crying in her room, and when she asked her what was wrong, Catherine revealed that she was being bullied at school. When she further inquired about the bullying, Catherine told her that when she arrived at school in the morning, she found a plastic bag filled with a bunch of dead roaches inside her desk. Startled, Catherine threw the bag onto the floor, and a classmate allegedly told her, "Don't throw that here. Use it in your restaurant, since it's a bug Chinese place, right?" With a heavy heart, my mother-in-law showed me a piece of paper which read in large letters, "I am a bug girl." She said, "I found this stuck to Catherine's backpack." She didn't notice it and brought it home, only to realize it when she got to her room, and she cried a lot. Ever since news about our shop had spread online, classmates who knew started teasing Catherine with bug, and she naturally started getting labeled as the bug girl from the bug-serving Chinese restaurant. Catherine tried to defend herself, saying, "We don't serve bugs," but they showed her some pictures from social media, and nobody believed her. The bullying continued, and while Catherine had been trying to endure it, the note on her backpack broke her, and she couldn't take it anymore. I went into Catherine's room and held my sobbing daughter tightly. She said, "Mom, I can't take it anymore. I just can't." I responded, "I know, honey. I know. I'm so sorry," and hugged her as we both cried until she fell asleep. From the next day, Catherine couldn't bring herself to go to school and became truant. I went to the school and spoke with her teacher, telling him about the bullying. The teacher assured, "I'll take the lead on this issue," and asked me to keep him updated about Catherine's situation at home. After my conversation with the teacher, as I was leaving the school, I passed Catherine's locker and saw the word bug written in marker above her name. I pulled out a wet wipe from my purse and tried to erase the indelible mark, crying as I scrubbed repeatedly. The harassment at our shop continued as well. Catherine stayed confined to her room, and my mother-in-law started visiting the hospital and seemed to be on medication. My husband began drinking heavily every night, often falling asleep immediately afterward. Our family was physically and emotionally drained, and a heavy silence filled our home every day. In the midst of these trying times, my boss announced an all-staff training which I was obliged to attend. I wasn't in the mood to attend such training, but I couldn't refuse for fear of being fired, so I decided to participate in the 3-day event. On the second night of the training, after dinner, as everyone was heading to their rooms, the executive told me, "I need to discuss some work with you," and called me into his room. Normally, I wouldn't have gone into a man's room alone, but perhaps I was mentally broken at that moment. Thinking there might be some work issue, I entered his room. He offered me a drink and, after a while, said, "Your restaurant's going through a tough time, huh?" I realized then that even here, people knew about the shop. I guess I was at my wit's end. The executive then handed me an envelope on the table and said, "I'm offering you a new job opportunity. There's $1,000 in here. If you accept the job, I'll give you this as a bonus each time." He then put his hand on my shoulder. "Oh, is that so? $1,000, huh? That amount would really help my living situation." Broken as I was, I decided to do as the executive said. At that moment, he whispered in my ear, "I never thought you had a child." Child. The word child reminded me of my husband, mother-in-law, and Catherine. I instinctively pushed his hand away and ran out of the room. Grabbing my belongings, I rushed out of the training facility. It was pouring outside, and as the cold rain hit my face, I ran to the nearest station without even an umbrella. Regret consumed me as I ran. Why did I even go into that room? I knew what could have happened. Was I blinded by the money? No, that can't be it. But I did feel something. How foolish I was. Betraying Josh. I felt so pathetic. The heavy rain hid my tears as they streamed down my face. It was from Catherine, so I quickly answered.
My grandma kicked me out of the house. What? She kicked you out? What's your dad doing?
He's been asleep since yesterday, and he doesn't respond when I call out to him.
He's not responding. Got it, I'll come home right away. Stay right there.
I told my daughter to wait outside our house and then ran towards the station. As I ran, I tried calling home and my husband, Bob, but no one picked up. When I arrived home, I found my daughter sitting in front of our shuttered door, with faint remnants of spray paint markings.
Mom, are you okay? Why did Grandma kick you out? I don't know, she just gave me this and told me to leave immediately.
She showed me a kid's cell phone. I quickly unlocked the door and entered. The house was pitch dark, with no lights on. I sent my daughter to her room and turned on the living room light. To my horror, I found my mother-in-law lying next to the table. I rushed over and called out to her, but there was no response. I noticed a glass with a bit of water and an empty pill packet on the table. I instantly realized she might have overdosed. I immediately called 911. I then went upstairs to find Bob and saw him slouched over his desk. I shook him hard. Upon waking up, he told me, I was working on some bills last night when my mom made me some hot coffee. After drinking it, I suddenly felt so sleepy. I told Bob about our mother-in-law, and as we rushed downstairs, he desperately tried to wake her up. I spotted a note on the table and picked it up. It read, in frail handwriting. Bob, Rachel, I'm truly grateful for both of you for taking care of this place. I can't continue here anymore. I haven't touched my husband's life insurance, so with my savings, you both can start a new life somewhere else. Please be happy. Thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart.
Oh my gosh!
Shortly after, the ambulance arrived. They said mother-in-law was in a coma and quickly took her to the hospital. Leaving our daughter at home, we headed to the hospital. Upon arrival, they pumped mother-in-law's stomach, and she was immediately taken to ICU. 3 days later, she regained consciousness and was transferred to a regular room. In that room, I told her, why'd you try to end your life? We can't be happy without you. I sobbed into her bed, my voice barely audible. Bob sat by her side, looking down, while mother-in-law silently shed tears. We all cried, feeling hopeless. At that moment, we had lost all hope and reason to live. Later, mother-in-law explained that after drugging Bob with the coffee, she sent my daughter away so she could contact me and so we wouldn't see her in that state. A few days later, as my husband and I were discussing closing our shop, Josh came to visit our home. Long time no see, I said. Apparently, they'd identified the person who had posted on that social media. Turns out, it was a blonde college senior from the same university as Josh who had come into our shop and yelled at us before.
So it was him who had a grudge against our restaurant. But it's okay, we're thinking of closing this place anyway.
My husband said with a sigh, looking around our shop with a thoughtful expression.
What, you're gonna close the shop?
After all the bad publicity, it's hard to bounce back, and we've had our share of troubles. We're just worn out. We did our best, but it seems like it wasn't enough. Sorry. If we ever get back on track, please come visit us again. I said, forcing a smile. Seeing me, Josh said, I owe a lot to you too. I won't let this shop go under. I promise. With that, he stood up abruptly, his face hardened, and he left our home. A few days later, as my husband was getting the morning paper from the mailbox, he found several letters inside. Thinking it was another prank, he was about to throw them all away when he noticed one postcard that read, I miss the ramen from your restaurant. Curious, he started reading the letters, and all of them expressed hope for our shop's revival. When I read the other letters that I had initially discarded, they all seemed to say the same thing. We were both puzzled by this, not knowing where they came from. The next day, Josh came over and said with a grin, that blonde dude is quitting school. When asked what he meant, it turned out that the blonde student had ruined his life with that social media post. According to Josh, while many agreed with the negative post about our restaurant, there were also some who criticized it. Josh intentionally highlighted these criticisms and spread them. Then, more and more people started to agree with Josh's voice, and the idea of identifying the individual in question began to spread. A few of Josh's college friends pitched in, and when they shared a picture of a restaurant, they speculated that the person must live in that neighborhood. During their research, they heard about a blonde student who boasted to his friends, "My social media post is blowing up." Guess it went viral after I posted about some restaurant. Josh remembered the student's attitude from when he had visited the restaurant before. Suspecting a connection, he and his friends started to investigate the blonde student's social media. And they hit the jackpot. The student had posted, "Man, that Chinese place kept pushing hand sanitizer on me, got really annoying." A friend had replied, "Yeah? The owner told me to use it once, and after I didn't, I gave the waiter a death stare." With this, they were certain the social media account belonged to the blonde student in question. Josh thought, "We need to expose this guy's misdeeds." When he discussed it with a friend, it turned out the friend knew a popular YouTuber with 300,000 subscribers who dealt with current events. The YouTuber agreed to make a video about how a beloved local restaurant was being jeopardized because of this blonde student. Given the YouTuber's influence, the story spread like wildfire. The blonde student's social media faced massive backlash. The blonde student quickly deleted his account, but images and posts had already spread widely. He was in a situation he couldn't escape from. After Josh had first shared the information, a certain netizen managed to identify the blonde student and posted it on social media. Soon, multiple netizens had identified the student's age, college name, home address, face photos, and even the name of the company he had received a job offer from. The online community's backlash was intense. The student received threatening letters at home, and troublemaker YouTubers uploaded a video accusing the blonde student of destroying the Chinese restaurant. They even confronted his parents about their parenting, repeatedly ambushing them at home. Eventually, the police got involved. Every day, people who looked like YouTubers lurked around the student's home, filming his family members coming and going, scrutinizing their mail, and uploading detailed videos. One time, the blonde student lost his temper and confronted one of the YouTubers. But that altercation was filmed by another YouTuber and uploaded. From then on, the student couldn't retaliate against them. By that point, the emotional toll on the student's family was substantial. But the attacks from the online community showed no signs of letting up. On the university's website he attended, numerous complaints were posted highlighting his misdeeds, with comments like, "Does your university really send out such lousy students into society like flies? I'd really like to hear what the dean thinks of this." The university also reportedly had the blonde student come in with his parents to verify the facts, telling him that any further online issues would be a nuisance for the university, and they'd have to take appropriate actions. Furthermore, word of the social media incident got out to the company where the blonde student had received a job offer. Many people contacted the company, saying things like, "Is it okay for your company to hire such a student?" and suggesting maybe you should reconsider the job offer. As a result, his job offer was allegedly rescinded. Even his father's company was identified. Similar complaints were posted on the company's website, and the father was questioned about the incident according to the company's regulations. He was sternly warned to ensure that his personal issues didn't cause any trouble for the company. He also had an older sister, who was 2 years his senior. An anonymous letter detailing her brother's misdeeds was sent to her fiancé's home. Once he learned of the younger brother's actions, the engagement was called off. Afterwards, the blonde student left the university and started working part-time. His family fell apart, with loud arguments heard every night from their home, accompanied by the sound of things breaking. At some point, the blonde student seemed to have left his family's home and no one knows of his whereabouts since. Josh said he learned the hard way about the dangers of the internet because of this incident. With the support and encouragement from many, including letters from Josh, we decided to reopen our restaurant. Thanks to a popular YouTuber who said in his video, "Everyone, please visit our restaurant," we started to see many young customers coming in. As for my daughter, her teacher reached out saying, "The entire class wants to apologize." When we went to the school, all the students apologized to my daughter, saying, "We're sorry for calling you bug." They also asked, "Do you know that YouTuber?" It made me realize the incredible influence of YouTubers these days. Currently, I've quit my regular job, Josh has returned to part-time work, and even my mother-in-law sometimes helps out at the restaurant because we have so many customers. All of us in the family are truly grateful for the support we've received. Every day, I welcome our customers with a smile, hoping they enjoy my husband's cooking.